Izuku Midoriya was born weak and without any abilities, but after eating the hair of the strongest hero alive, he gained incredible powers. In this universe, a baby emitting a bright light was born somewhere in China, and after that, 80% of the population began displaying various abilities called quirks. These quirks began manifesting in kids at a very young age, with some having the ability to fly, control elements, or even grow to incredible sizes. Due to this phenomenon, crime escalated, leading to the rise of professional heroism as an occupation. These heroes are ranked by the government based on the various activities they perform. Because of this, kids all over the country aspire to become heroes due to the prestige and financial benefits associated with it. Midoriya was no exception. Ever since he was a kid, he admired the top hero in Japan, All Might, and wanted to be like him as soon as his quirk manifested. However, he found out at a young age that he was born quirkless. Even though his mother could pull small objects towards her, and his father, who probably went to go buy milk, could breathe fire, our MC inherited none of those abilities. He was even given the nickname Deku, a short form of defenseless Izuku, by some of his classmates, and even though he was the subject of bullying and taunting, he was committed to attending UA, the top hero school in the country, and becoming a professional hero. As Deku was walking home from school, he was attacked by a villain who wanted to take control over his body. As life slowly drained out of him, the number one hero, All Might, showed up to rescue him. He threw a powerful punch that amassed enough wind pressure to blow his opponent away. Deku is ecstatic about meeting his idol and thanks him profusely for saving him. However, when All Might leaves to take the villain to the authorities, Deku clings on to him, desperate to ask him questions. All Might lands on top of a building and asks the young boy to call for help so he can get down. As he is about to leave, Deku asks if it's possible for a boy without a quirk to become a hero. This makes All Might stop in his tracks as he thinks of an answer, but suddenly he experiences a sharp pain and transforms into a skinny, frail man. He reveals to Deku the reason for this transformation was a horrible injury he sustained in the battle. Half of his respiratory organs were destroyed and he lost his whole stomach. Because of this, he can only walk as a hero for 3 hours a day. All Might does not directly discourage Deku from following his dream, but he tells him to be realistic about it. As he leaves, he found out that he dropped the bottle that he kept the villain inside. Meanwhile, one of Deku's bullies, Katsuki, is on his way home with his goons. As they walk through an alleyway, Katsuki unknowingly kicks the bottle containing the slime villain, leading to him being captured as the monster causes carnage. Although various heroes arrive at the scene, they are unable to do anything against the rampaging monster and decide to wait for someone with a suitable combat quirk to arrive. All Might shows up but stays out of combat because of his injury. Deku also shows up, and when he sees that Katsuki has been captured, he instinctively jumps into action and tries to save his classmates. All Might, seeing this, becomes inspired by Deku risking his life. He quickly powers up and sends the villain flying away with a tornado-inducing punch, saving the two boys. After that, Deku continues on his way home, deciding he will start thinking realistically. But at that moment, All Might appears. He tells Deku that he was only able to act because he jumped into action, even though he had no powers. His praise moves Deku to tears as All Might tells him he has what it takes to become a hero. It is at this point All Might tells Deku he is worthy to inherit his power, and tells him his quirk was an ability that is passed down like a sacred torch. His ability is called One for All, a power that is cultivated and grown by the previous wielders. All Might explains that he's been looking for a successor, and as Deku was the most heroic one at the scene earlier, he decided to choose him. Deku is moved that All Might trusted him with this secret and takes the number one hero up on his offer. The duo move into action, and All Might tells Deku that he has to train his body to receive his power, otherwise his limbs could explode. He takes Deku to a nearby beach and tells him he has to clean it all up before the UA entrance exams as part of his training, and even gives him an extremely difficult training plan. Despite the challenge in front of him, Deku is motivated to work harder than anyone to fulfill his dreams. After 10 months of intensive training, Deku cleans up the beach at the last minute, gaining a physique many of us can only dream of in that time. All Might then gave Deku a piece of his hair, explaining that he only needed a part of his DNA to receive his power. He also tells him to hurry up and ingest it, since that day was when the UA entrance exams were. At the exam center, Deku and the rest of the aspiring entrants were filled in on what they needed to accomplish to pass. The examiner, President Mike, tells them their task is to defeat Fox villains in an urban battle setting. Each villain they face has a certain number of points attached to them. One of the villains is worth 0 points and is meant as an obstacle, so the students are all advised to avoid it. Deku and the other entrants are taken to Battle Center B, where they face their first set of challenges. Graduating from UA is a requirement for becoming a great hero, so Deku is under a lot of pressure to pass the entrance exams. He is intimidated by the quality of the candidates, and they all feel lucky that such a wimp is in their group. President Mike announces the start of the challenge and all the students rush in, leaving Deku behind. Before Deku can compose himself, he finds that a lot of the candidates have amassed a lot of points while he has none. At that moment, the examination committee decided it was time to unleash the obstacle villains to make things harder for the students. The giant robot, Zero, threw a punch that sent a large cloud of dust flying at all the students. Deku tried to get on his feet and salvage any points he can get, but President Mike announces that there are only 2 minutes left on the clock. Time is running out for the MC. However, Deku noticed the girl who helped him earlier trapped under some rubble. He was going to be crushed by Zero. Deku, noticing the threat, literally jumps into action and lands a powerful punch on the robot, completely neutralizing it while ripping his body into shreds. His right arm and both his legs were broken, meaning that he will be unable to prevent further damage from the fall. As Deku is about to become street food, the girl he saved returned the favor by using her powers to prevent him from becoming a casualty. As the other students discussed what they just witnessed, the school's registered nurse, Recovery Girl, came over and used her healing powers to patch Deku up. A week later, Deku receives a letter from UA containing his admission decision. When he opens it in his room, he finds a projection of All Might explaining to him that though he passed the written exam, he received 0 points for defeating villains. However, there was a secret scoring criterion awarded by the examiners called rescue points. He got 60 of them, and they were just enough for Deku to pass the admission exam and make it into the school. There were students who were also accepted into the school based on recommendations, like Momoya Oyorozu and Shoto Todoroki, but we'll get to them later. As for MC, his dream high school life is about to begin. In the month of April, Deku finally begins classes at UA. While he acquaints himself with his classmates, the homeroom teacher, Aizawa Shota, arrives. He pulls out some uniforms from his sleeping bag and tells the students they need to head to the field for a quirk assessment test. However, there's a caveat. The students who comes last in all assessment tests will be expelled, and this news sends the students into a frenzy. Deku is the most concerned as he can't control his powers effectively and doesn't want to risk getting injured, but he doesn't have much of a choice. Test begins and Deku performs woefully in each of them. He could not run fast, he had no grip strength, and overall was pretty unathletic. On the 4th test, the students were asked to throw a softball as far as possible. Bakugo goes first and throws his softball 750 meters, while Uraraka throws hers to what seems like an infinite distance. At this point, Deku is going to face expulsion and he decides that he will use his quirk for this test, no matter the consequences. As he gears up to throw the ball, Aizawa uses his power to erase Deku's quirk and scolds him because he knows Deku will become incapacitated after he uses it. He gives Deku another chance, and this time, he surprises everyone by directing his power to one finger and propels the ball over 700 meters. Despite this performance, he still comes in last place when the total scores are announced. However, Aizawa reveals that he lied about the expulsion, and he only did that to draw out the upper limits of their abilities. Deku returns to classes and finds out that All Might is one of his teachers. His job is to take them through combat training, and for this they need special equipment. The students are provided with costumes based on their physical abilities, quirks, and whatever modifications they requested. Deku, being the fanboy he is, modeled his costume after All Might. All Might reveals the task at hand to the students. They are to conduct mock hero and villain battles in a 2 versus 2 scenario. The villains will guard a nuclear bomb in a building and protect it for an allocated time or capture the heroes, and the heroes are to retrieve the nuclear bomb or capture the villains. The teams are selected by lot and Deku and Uraraka are paired together. After this, the duo gets paired against Bakugo and Ida, with Deku and Uraraka being the heroes and Bakugo and Ida being the villains. The test soon begins and the hero duo infiltrate the building and begin their search for the bomb. Deku understands that he can't use his quirk as it could potentially kill his classmates, so he decides that he will have to rely on his teammates' gravity powers. They are immediately attacked by Bakugo, but manage to dodge the explosive attacks thrown at them. Fortunately, Deku had anticipated this, and as Bakugo launched another attack, Deku grabbed him and threw him onto the ground, much to the amazement of his classmates and All Might. Bakugo tries his hardest to beat Deku, but is unsuccessful, giving our MC the chance to escape and hide. Deku deduces that this is the best course of action, as fighting Bakugo head-on means risking defeat or running out of time. Uraraka finds Ida and the nuke, but discovers that her opponent had anticipated her arrival. She contacts Deku and fills him in on her location. Deku is about to go assist her, but he is intercepted by Bakugo, who attacks him with a massive explosion that destroys part of the building. All Might contacts Bakugo and explains that if he uses the attack again, his team will lose as it's too dangerous for everyone in the building. Enraged, Bakugo unleashes a flurry of attacks and throws Deku to the ground. Deku immediately cooks up a plan, and when Bakugo rushes towards him again, he throws a punch that sends a powerful wind through the upper floors of the building. Uraraka then uses her gravity powers and the debris to her advantage, enabling her to capture the bomb. His efforts were not in vain, and even though Deku sustained serious injuries, his team got the win. Bakugo is literally about to lose his marbles because he lost, but All Might calms him down and tells him to learn from the experience. Bro really thought he was the main character. In the second battle, the other students get the chance to display their abilities. Shoji Mezo and Shodo Todoroki, one of the recommended students, are on the hero team. Shoji can duplicate parts of his body on his tentacles, while Todoroki can control ice and fire. Their opponents are a guy with a tail and an invisible girl, in other words, fodder. Todoroki freezes the entire building with his quirk, trapping his opponents in ice. After he captures the bomb, he uses his heat powers to return the building to normal. This was not a fair fight. After this incredible beatdown, the other students get their turn and All Might congratulates them at the end of everything. However, he was running out of time while in his hero form, so he retreats to his staff room to cool down. Deku, meanwhile, spends the entire afternoon in the nurse's office and was greeted warmly by his classmates when he returned. Uraraka also comes to check up on him and lets him know that Bakugo had already left the building. He rushes out and meets Bakugo as he's about to go home, and nervously explains to him that his quirk was a power he received from someone else. Bakugo is frustrated that he had lost to Deku and vows that he will never lose again. In the meantime, news about All Might being a teacher at UA spreads throughout the country, and villains everywhere take note of this and plan to exterminate the symbol of peace. The students of UA also receive a lot of attention from the press, as everyone wants to get the scoop on All Might. However, when the reporters try to enter the school, the security system kicks in, raising barriers that surround the campus. Later that day, Aizawa tells his class that their task is to elect a class representative, and all the students get excited because they want the role. Ida suggests that the best way to navigate this is to hold an election, and in the end, Deku and Momo are elected as class rep and deputy. However, Deku believes that Ida is more suited for the role, and with the unanimous decision of the class, Ida becomes the new representative. Aizawa announces that the class will be partaking in rescue training, so the students are transported to a special facility for that purpose. On the bus, Deku learns more about his classmates' abilities, like Eijiro Kirishima, who can harden his body. They finally arrive at the facility and meet 13, the space hero, who would be one of their instructors. All Might was supposed to be there too, but he had to rest because he was doing hero work throughout the day. The training facility looked like something out of an amusement park, and 13 explains that it had been set up to train the students for multiple real-life scenarios. As the students are about to start their test, the lights go out and a wormhole opens the training ground. Out of it emerge members from a secret organization called the League of Villains, who look to cause havoc. Their goal was to find and kill All Might, but since he wasn't around, they thought he would show up if they exterminated the kids instead. Aizawa quickly takes action, fending off his opponents by erasing their quirks and beating them in hand-to-hand combat. 13 tries to lead the students to safety, but they are intercepted by one of the villains, who uses his quirk to warp the students to different sections of the facility. There, they could be defeated easily by the other trespassers. 13 realizes the gravity of the situation and tells E that he has to run to the school and raise the alarm. Deku, Asui and Mineta find themselves at the shipwreck zone and mount their stand on a boat against their opponents. Asui explains that her quirk gives her the abilities of a frog, and Mineta explains that his quirk lets him stick his balls onto any surface. Deku deduces that their opponents won't act rashly because they don't know their quirks, so he cooks up a plan to defeat the villains. He jumps off the boat and blasts a gust of wind into the water, forming a whirlpool. Asui then jumps out and catches him, and as the water converges to the middle, Mineta throws his balls into it, sticking the villains together and immobilizing them. The trio discuss their next course of action, and Deku decides to go lessen the load of Aizawa. They reach the plaza where Aizawa is and find that he's holding his own quite well. However, he's attacked by Shigaraki, the leader of the League of Villains, and he uses his quirk to erode Aizawa's elbow. Shigaraki's ability causes everything he touches to decay quickly, meaning Aizawa was now at a disadvantage. In his weakened state, he was easy pickings for Nomu, a monster that was specifically created to destroy All Might. Meanwhile, 13 was defeated by the Warp Gate villain, Kurogiri, but his efforts were not enough to prevent Ida from escaping. Understanding that backup would soon be arriving, he alerts Shigaraki of the situation. Shigaraki becomes frustrated and decides to leave, but not before killing off one of All Might's students. He rushes to attack Asui, and Deku, understanding the capabilities of his quirk, jumped into action and threw a powerful punch. However, Shigaraki was protected by Nomu, who easily aced the punch. As Deku was about to be sent to the afterlife, All Might showed up at the facility to protect his students, and Bro was not smiling. He quickly decimates the further villains at the plaza and retrieves Aizawa and the kids. He rushes at Shigaraki, but Nomu gets in the way, causing the hero to redirect his efforts. He lands blow after blow on the monster, but to no effect. The punches do not work because of its shock absorption abilities. All Might then switches tactics and lands a suplex strong enough to cause an explosion. However, Kurogiri interfered with the fight and used his warp gate to give Nomu the advantage. The monster targeted All Might's weak spots and restrained him as Kurogiri dragged him deeper into the gate. The plan was to close the gate around the hero's torso and cut him in half. Deku, seeing this, hands off Aizawa to Asui and goes to save his mentor. He is about to be sucked by Kurogiri, but is saved by Bakugo. Todoroki also makes an entrance and freezes the body of Nomu, which gave All Might the chance he needed to escape. Shigaraki is now outnumbered, but that doesn't matter because he has Nomu. The monster escapes the gates, and even though the ice causes its limbs to fall off, it quickly regenerates them, shocking the heroes at the scene. Shigaraki gives it the command and he rushes to retrieve Kurogiri, but All Might swoops in. All Might decides to give the battle his all, launching a counter-attack on Nomu that blows everyone away. Since one of Nomu's quirks is shock absorption, there is a limit to the damage he can take, and All Might uses this to his advantage. He goes beyond his limits and lands a punch that sends Nomu flying out of the facility. It took him over 300 hits to defeat the monster. All Might calls out to Shigaraki to come at him, but it is only a bluff. Shigaraki decides to finish what he started and rushes at All Might with Kurogiri. Deku is the only one who understands the situation, so he launches an attack on Kurogiri in an attempt to save his mentor. His plan was seen through, and as Deku was about to be finished off, backup finally arrived. Ida had contacted the principal and he showed up with a bunch of professional heroes. Realizing that their plan was foiled, Shigaraki made his escape, vowing to kill All Might one day. All Might thanks Deku for his help as it took him over 300 hits to defeat the monster. All Might calls out to Shigaraki to come at him, but it is only a bluff. Shigaraki decides to finish what he started and rushes at All Might with Kurogiri. Deku is the only one who understands the situation, so he launches an attack on Kurogiri in an attempt to save his mentor. His plan was seen through, and as Deku was about to be finished off, backup finally arrived. Ida had contacted the principal and he showed up with a bunch of professional heroes. Realizing that their plan was foiled, Shigaraki made his escape, vowing to kill All Might one day. All Might thanks Deku for his help, as without his initial distraction, the #1 hero would have perished. Meanwhile, Shigaraki and Kurogiri made it back to their lair. The villain is irritated that he had lost and makes this known to his master, whom he communicates with through a screen. The mysterious voice tells him they simply underestimated their foes and asks Shigaraki to gather elite villains for another attack. Back at UA, the authorities are conducting a thorough investigation. A friendly detective, Tsukachi, lets the students know that although Aizawa and 13 have been hospitalized, All Might and Deku have been taken to the nurse's office to be treated by a recovery girl. The 4 of them are expected to make full recoveries. The defeated Nomu was eventually captured, and the detective got permission from the principal to conduct an investigation at the school. Although the students emerged from this incident stronger than before, the attack by the League of Villains was only the beginning of what would become a major incident later on. But that's a story for another time. You definitely enjoyed this video since you made it this far, so you should like the video and subscribe to the channel. Bye.